94.3 The Game, Tillaguar HD1, Farmville, Greenville. Powered by the Ritchie Law Firm Injury Lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
Do you live ECU? Do you breathe purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
Welcome in, Hoist the Colors on this Friday, November 8th edition of the show. It is a reaction Friday. East Carolina pulls off a dominant 49-14 victory on Thursday Night Football over the Florida Atlantic Owls. Caden Hauser accounts for 6 touchdowns. Blake Harrell moves to 2-0 as interim head coach of East Carolina football. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you've got a question, a comment, a concern for this reaction show, let us know. We'll read it and share it on the air and comment on it. All right, so we're doing things a little different today as we introduce our cast. We'll start first. In studio beside me, Scott Rogers, the former voice of ECU baseball, now an analyst for the reaction show. Welcome in, man. What are you doing here?
I had a day to use yesterday, a vacation day, so I came in late Wednesday night for the game. Got to see the Pirates win last night, doing a little bit of remote work today, and taking the weekend here in Greenville and head back to Georgia Sunday.
Going to the basketball game tomorrow?
I will be. Hopefully we'll see Mike Schwartz start 2-0.
So glad to have Scooter back for a little bit. And any update quickly on who's the next voice of the Pirate baseball team?
That is not my concern.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get your take on the football game. All right. Producing today is not Philip Pilkington because he is out. He is on his way to Colorado. We have Dominic Kasolke behind the glass. Dom, we were talking before the show. This is your official Hoist the Colors production debut from start to finish. So how nervous are you?
I am the least nervous I've been for a show in a long time. I feel like this show is pretty laid back. I'm excited to get it going with you guys, talk about some football.
We're just talking ball. And we got the best thing about this, guys, we also have Joe Sampson's brother, Nick Sampson.
The only Sampson that was available.
The only Sampson who's available today. The only Sampson who didn't schedule a dentist appointment right in the middle of the show.
Ooh.
We may get him on mic at some point. Pancake is hanging out as well, as Joe had a dental emergency.
We could have had him live from the dentist chair.
That would have been entertaining.
That would have been awesome.
For at least us. So, I don't know.
Sold a sponsorship to a dentist office. Been great.
We could have done that. I mean, especially for the first half of the ECU season, it would have been like right in line. But the last 2 games, much better than a root canal. Guys, I mean, let's go. We always start round table, round the horn. Let's just go general thoughts on last night. 49-14. We'll start with Scott Rogers.
Last night, I mean, seeing it in person for the first time since Blake Harrell has taken over, I mean, I think, a clear difference than the first half of the season. I think the guys, they seem like they're playing more freely than they were under Mike Houston. And it could be just coincidence, but it seems like they're playing more freely. They're having more fun. We're definitely seeing a difference in terms of offensive plays being called. And I think the success over the past couple of weeks is a combination of factors. Obviously, opponents not that great. Temple and FAU certainly bottom tier of the American. Next week will be the case again with Tulsa. But you combine that with some play calls that we have not seen most of the year. And it's not necessarily trick plays or anything like that. It's just creative plays, stuff that we were expecting from John David Baker when he got to Greenville. But I think just the combination with all that and Blake Harrell really getting this group as close as they can since the Mike Houston dismissal. I think it's just 3 big combinations that has resulted in a lot of success for this ball club. And they've been fun to watch. I mean, watching Caden Hauser, just absolutely throw dimes all over the place has been so much fun the past couple of weeks. And last night, he was making NFL throws last night on some of those plays. It was so fun to watch. And, it's going to be interesting. You win 3 in a row. If you get the win next week against Tulsa, if you're able to steal one from North Texas or Navy, maybe even win both of those, that's going to be a tough decision for John Gilbert at the end of the year.
I do want to get into that, and I think with each successive win, Blake Harrell is just going to continue to build momentum. It is still very week to week, but you got to at least have that conversation for sure. All right, Dom, what'd you think last night?
Pretty much what Scooter said about having fun with it. I'm having a great time watching Caton Hauser play football. I haven't felt this way in a while now after last season. Obviously not a lot of fun. Start of this year has not been that great, but these last 2 games, Caton Hauser has lit it up everywhere. I've had so much fun watching him. I got to watch the Temple game live there. I had to watch this one at the studio, but either way, watching him play football has been really exciting, and I'm hoping it wasn't just because of the competition. I'm excited to watch him in the future.
Yeah, so I'll share my thoughts, and I want to ask you guys a question on what has been the biggest change. But just to echo you guys' sentiments, 581 yards of offense. They had 418 yards in the first half. They could have put up 700 points. Or they could have put up 700 yards and 70 points. It felt like they could have put up 700 points.
That would have been fun to watch.
They could have put up 700 yards and 70 points if they wanted to. Let's see, the drive chart in the second half, they only had, third quarter, they only had 3 possessions in the second. They really only had 2 possessions in the second half, and both of them were touchdowns. So, 7 of their 9 legitimate possessions were touchdowns, as the last possession was a kneel out. So, then you had a missed field goal due to a false start. So, really, you moved the ball on every possession. There were no 3-and-outs all night long.
You had 1 punt in that game, right?
1 punt from Luke Larson. So it's just the offense is just what we envisioned. And I think Caton Hauser, and not to go back to this again, but it's like, what if he was the starter from day one? I know you can't always have the hindsight 2020 thing, but it's just drastically different. And I saw a lot of the live scrimmages, and yes, Jake made a lot of great throws. He's got a great personality, but Caton just always seemed to see the bigger picture of the field. And I got to be honest, it was just surprising when they named Jake the guy and then stuck with him for so long, from my point of view. Now, I was told in the building it was a unanimous decision to go with Jake as a staff, offensive, defensive, everybody. So I don't know if I'm missing something, but it's just that was ultimately the wrong call. It's pretty clear.
And I think looking back at it, it might have been an experience thing why they went with Jake, just being the older guy, got the more playing experience on the field. But it sure looks like from a talent perspective, and like you said, too, it seems like, too, that Caton just sees the field so much better than Jake. And that's obvious with the amount of interceptions that Jake threw in those first few games where he was the starter. And, of course, Caton's thrown some picks since he's taken over, but it certainly was not what Jake Garcia was doing. And it might have been just getting used to this offense, but something has certainly clicked with Caton Hauser here over the past 2 to 3 weeks. And, it has been so much fun to watch. And hopefully, obviously with the portal and NIL, you always have to worry about that with making a late push here at the end of the season. But if he does stay here at East Carolina, not go in the portal or anything, next year having a full season under him could really be special.
Donate to Team Boneyard today. Every dollar counts. And look, Caton is already pretty well compensated compared to the rest of the roster. He actually was the highest paid quarterback, and going into the year, he's got a great deal with Bagel Man. But I think it's one of those deals. He likes being here. I think he wants to stay here, but he's also a West Coast guy. If some West Coast teams throws 6 figures at him, he'll be tempted. But I think ECU can definitely up that if people donate to Team Boneyard and if he keeps playing like this. Cameron says, for anyone who says the last 2 opponents are weak, well, look at Charlotte and App State. Both of them are arguably just as bad right now as Temple and FAU. Mike Houston not starting. Hauser was atrocious. Look, so my question to you guys, is it the opponents, or is this more about what Blake Harrell has done with the team, or is it more about just Caton Hauser being the quarterback, or is it just a combination of all of them?
I think it's a combination of all of them. I think these guys are playing inspired right now. I think Blake Harrell has really gotten them as a collective group together, and they have bought into him. And like I said, opponents, I think, do play a factor in there because we talked about it last night, how FAU's secondary was not good. We knew Temple's secondary was not good coming into that game. And so when you have those weaker points of an opponent, attack that. And that's exactly what John David Baker did these past 2 games against them. But I really think that the majority of this is having Caton Hauser at quarterback, and this team has truly bought in together since the Mike Houston news. And they've come together because I truly think this team wants to play good now because they want Blake Harrell to be the head coach at the end of the season.
Dom, when you hear the things I threw out there, Hauser being the guy, Blake taking over and a mindset change there, or the opponents? Like, what's at the top of your list for what we're seeing right now, for why we're seeing what we're seeing?
I'd say the culture that Blake is bringing is the biggest change right now. I think Caton still could have played good with Mike Houston there. I think if we played App State and Liberty, had those leads with Caton Hauser playing, which, who's to say we have those leads, but with the way he's playing, you would think we would have those leads. I think we go and we win those games because of Caton Hauser and also because of the way we're playing offense when we lead games. We're not playing conservative after we lead, and I think that has to do with the culture that Blake's bringing.
And one thing I'll add in, too, is since the coaching change, you have both Blake Harrell and John David Baker down on the field now. And JDB kind of hit on it a little bit in his media availability this week, how, being down on the field now, he can communicate a little bit better to the guys. You don't have to get on the phone and ring down and talk to them that way. If he sees something, he can walk right up to the guy, say, hey, saw this, correct it, do this, whatever it is. And I think that plays a factor. Lincoln Riley has always been on the field. He was on the field during his tenure at East Carolina. And, I think it goes case by case based on what kind of coordinator you are and what type of coaching style you have. But that, I think, might play a factor into this offense, too, just because him being a little bit more closer to the field and being closer to the guys during the game, I think, plays a factor, too.
I'm proud of you for watching the press availability, even in Georgia. So.
Well, I'm still doing the pregame show for the radio network. I'm still putting together all the cuts and stuff.
Oh, there you go. So you have to watch it.
Exactly.
Scott Lorbatcher adds on YouTube, don't underestimate the power of buy-in and motivation. These kids have bought into Blake Harrell. He's got the ability to fire them up. I'll just say this, like Mike Houston, and somebody commented he was at times an uptight coach on the sidelines. I do think Blake Harrell's body language, the emotion and the way he coaches defense filters now throughout the whole team. And, you always hear the team takes the personality of the head coach. And I do feel like the last few years, it didn't feel right. I don't know if Coach Houston lost some of that fire and intensity, but I don't know, it just never seemed like there was a great vibe at times.
Charlotte game's a great example of that.
And now it just feels like they're just out there playing free, and the team just seems different. And I'll say, too, right before the half, guys, ECU gets the ball back in their own territory. They're up 21-7 with like 2 minutes left. They're aggressive. They go score a touchdown. And then not only do they do that, they call a timeout to get the ball back. I don't think ECU does that with Coach Houston as the head coach. So then you go score again, and then the game's over.
Right, and they could have easily, ran the ball a couple times there late in the first half last night and took the ball into the locker room with a 21-7 lead. But like you said, they were aggressive. They wanted to get those points on the board going into the half. And that carries a lot of momentum, too. You score a touchdown with 30-some seconds left or whatever it was when they did score. You got a ton of momentum to build off of going into the half. And I just think that there's been so much of a culture change under Blake Harrell. I think, evident from the offensive side that there was some controlling going on with what John David Baker was calling, just because of the difference in plays we've seen here over the past two games. And one thing with Blake Harrell, too, is, and this talking with him off the record and stuff like that, too, he's such a relatable guy.
He's a normal dude.
Right. And I think he fits the East Carolina mold really, really good because he relates so much to the personality of this fan base. He relates so much to what the culture of this program was back when I was growing up, when Skip Holtz was here, when Ruffin McNeil was here. It was that, bring it every single time mentality. And I think Blake just fits it really, really good. And, like I said, if he can run the table here, get a bowl win, it's going to be a very tough decision. I would certainly be in favor if that happens, of him becoming the full-time head coach here.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's get a break in. We're going to hear from Mark Yellock on the other side. I do know that we are going to have the conversation about Blake Harrell a little bit later in terms of, being the head coach or not, as far as is that a real possibility. So we've got several comments on that. We'll get into that. We'll talk to Mark Yellock next. This is Hoist the Colors.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends.
Belt is proud to be the official belt of East Carolina Athletics.
It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
In 2025, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, premiums, co-pays, and dental medications are set to change, and reports are saying that 40% of people will need to switch plans to maintain their benefits. Call now. That's just a little scary. We can help you this year more than ever. Don't rely on confusing news or social media to understand legislative changes. Instead, let our licensed, award-winning team give you peace of mind. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
Fall is a great time for broadcast weed control.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo. How good is this on 94.3 The Game?
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors. We've got a Reaction Friday show this week. We'll have a Reaction Friday show next week. I'll be on the road traveling back from Tulsa, so I believe Philip's going to be producing that, but we'll have more then. Dom is producing today. Scott Rogers in studio, but we're going to go to our phone guest now. He is former ECU defensive lineman and former ECU D-line coach Mark Yellock. He usually joins us every Thursday. Coach Yellock, how about those Pirates last night, 49-14? What did you make of the victory?
No, it was good. I felt it looked like that, the guys were having fun out there. It seems like they were well prepared. They were clearly the most excited team out there. I felt that the coaching staff did a really good job of game planning, because you can tell with the big plays that they had on offense, they were definitely dialed into what they had some deficiencies are on the defensive side. I think, but you know what though, and I think this is going to be, I'm going to be the first one to say it, but the credit goes to the O-line. I think they're the MVP of this game. I think they did a really good job of protecting the quarterback. I thought they did a really good job of the run game and the pass game. You could tell by the numbers. When they had enough time to be able to deliver those balls down the field, it's because the offensive line had to protect. Those deep throws just don't come up because of a lack of a pocket or lack of protection. So I thought they did a phenomenal job. And they had 200 some yards rushing, 238 yards rushing. I think that's a credit to them. And here's the crazy thing about it. It was by committee, because nobody had 100 yards. It was 50, 80, 50, 60, 30, 40. It was a collection of a lot of people getting up to that total.
Mark Yellock with us, former ECU D-line coach. And, we got a lot to hit on, Coach. I don't think we've talked to you since a couple weeks ago. But, the job Blake Harrell has done, taking over difficult situation. Yes, he's faced some favorable opponents coming in, but to keep this thing together and look, I mean, to go out like if you go out last night and you win 17-14, you eke it out against a bad team. Maybe it's not as impressive, but they've pretty much dominated both these games. So what can you say about the job Coach Harrell has done as the interim coach?
Well, I think he's done a good job preparing the team, and the other coaches too have done a good job preparing the team. They didn't just give up on it. I think that also too what helps them tremendously is the fact that they had an off week and they played a favorable opponent into Temple, right? So Houston gets let go. You got Temple the next week where, let's just be real, I think that they could have beat them regardless, right? And then you come into an off week and you're playing against an FAU team that, to be honest with you, I thought played pretty well versus South Florida. I saw that game. I was thinking that this was going to be to be honest with you, a better game, a more competitive game than it was last night on their part. And I think that Harold just done a great job of just getting the guys ready to play, and just I think that they rallied around them in this off week and they did a really good job. You could tell they were coaching football. They were still working the craft of the game, and those guys were able to execute the game plan on Thursday.
Caden Hauser has stepped in at quarterback the last few starts. This was his third start, 17 of 22, 343 yards, 5 touchdowns. You mentioned the O-line, the receivers are catching passes, but it just feels like Caden has, I don't know, I said earlier, like a better vision of the entire picture of the field, and he's making the right reads in the RPO game, and it just seems like things are kind of flowing better. What do you see with Caden at quarterback that's making such a difference right now?
Well, he's gotten the groove. I think the play calling has helped, and you have to think about this too. Now, this is probably the most rushing yards they had in this whole year, isn't it?
It's got to be definitely up there, yeah.
It's got to be up there. It's got to be at least a 1 or 2, up in the ranks. So you're able to run the ball. The defense is able to get off the field. It's a combination of a lot of different things that helps this quarterback out. I think that you have an off week where you can sit down and say, all right, as a coach and as a player, and let's get together a game plan that really suits what he can do, because for the first part of the year, it's all been geared towards Garcia, and what he can do. So now they got it now where they can gear it towards him and where his favorable things are. And I think that, the kids feel comfortable. He looks more comfortable now than he did when they put him in the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you. So that's a credit to the schedule and how they manage the time, coaches wise, and credit to the kids for being able to execute. And then and plus you have 2 home games too, so you don't really have to worry about going away and getting on the plane or getting on the bus or doing all these different things and having a shorter week. You're at home for the most part, so that is another favorable part of it too.
We're visiting with Mark Yellock, a former ECU D-line coach, joins us weekly, has joined us weekly throughout the year. And Coach Yellock, 1 win away from bowl eligibility. Blake Harrell's kind of stated that's the goal, and then after last night, he still said it's 1 game at a time. But if we do win next week at Tulsa, we don't want to just stop there. So when you look at this team right now, like clearly ECU is salvaging the season. What it could have went the other direction. At what point does Blake Harrell become like a legitimate candidate for the long-term head coach, or is it too early to be having that discussion in your opinion?
You know what? I think that he should be a candidate, and he should be looked at in how he's doing so far. Again, all that stuff gets evaluated towards the end. Especially the amount of games he had left in the season. And it's going to be a big push for the players who's going to be really pushing it for him to be that. Especially, because they're having success. They're winning games. And especially if they have an opportunity to go to a bowl game, that's going to even cement it in more with the players for them to be able to have that type of rapport. So, I think it's all above our pay grade, right? The boosters and the AD and everybody else has control over what they want to do and what direction they want to go. But I think that what he's doing so far now, from what I'm seeing, is it's a complete difference. They look completely different now. And again, you can talk about the competition and everything else. But heck, we said that against Charlotte, right? They got a better record now than Charlotte does, and we got freaking beat by them. Look at App State. App State freaking lost to Coastal, and I'm not saying the Coastal's a bad team at all. Don't get me wrong. But, so they're going through some woes. So this just seems like the team now seems like they got some mojo about them compared to the other games. So, but we'll see how things continue to transpire as the season goes on, because you're only as good as your last game.
No doubt. It's such a week-to-week business, and still is, and definitely in terms of, I think, the evaluation of Coach Harrell. And speaking of last night, look, if let's say you're watching this game, as whether you will just throw Garrett Rowley and Joe Sloan's name out there because they've kind of been tied to the job, and you see ECU go out there with some of the talent they have, and I know rosters can change very much year over year. Does ECU playing like this right now in this situation, does that make the job any more attractive if you're an outside candidate right now?
Well, the term ECU is very attractive, period, because think about it. You're playing on the eastern part of North Carolina. You have a big fan base that you can capture. There's no other game in a basically hour and a half radius, Division I wise, that you know what I'm saying, even probably more, that you can attract people to. 50,000 seat stadium. You got all of Eastern North Carolina that you can recruit. You just have to understand. We have talked about this before. You just have to understand what ECU is all about. Even though you have the portal and everything else, you have all those things: transfer portal, junior colleges, all that stuff. But you still got to be able to develop kids, and we talked about that in the previous segment. I just think that it's very attractive. It's been an attractive job for the longest. And I think the only thing, like you said, like we always said, and everybody, you can agree with this, the only thing that's lacking with ECU is having consistent success and getting ourselves into a league or into a conference that and have success in a bigger conference. But you can't do all those things if you don't have consistent success. Just look at Cincinnati, look at Houston, look at Central Florida, all those teams that were on the same level as ECU for years, and then all of a sudden they had some success, and then now they're into bigger conferences.
Visiting with Mark Yellock. Final thing for you, Coach. We probably won't talk to you till after next Thursday's game. So just an early look at, and not Tulsa specifically, but the challenge of going on the road, and you don't get a bye week this time. Tulsa gets a bye week, and they will have time. They're playing the Thursday night game at home. Look, having been out to Tulsa, probably like yourself, we know there's not going to be much of a crowd. How much of a challenge is it to kind of bottle up this energy and follow up a really good game with another really good game?
I think it's real easy because you already see the 2 games in a row, and I think that these guys are having confidence. Just kids are like this, and there's as soon as you have success after going through what they've been through this year, and with the coaching changes and just the lackluster performances that that they've been having, to have some type of success 2 weeks in a row, and to all of a sudden say, "Oh yeah, okay, we are doing something. We are scoring 50 and 40 some points. We are doing this on defense. We are having this, having some success team wise." They're gonna listen to everything that Coach Harrell and them, the other coaches are asking them to do, because they're having success doing it that way. So I think this is a good jump-off point for them to be able to go on to the next week, and just to continue to, like Coach Harrell is saying, take it week by week, and that's the only thing you can do in this situation.
He is Mark Yellock, ECU alum and former ECU D-line coach. Always great to catch up with you, Mark. We'll try and hook up some point next week as well. Thursday I'll be in Tulsa, but we'll figure out something, man. But always good to talk with you.
Yeah. Take care, man. Go Pirates.
Absolutely. That is Mark Yellock. We'll get him on again to recap the Tulsa game at some point next week. All right, let's get another break in. We'll come back. We'll continue the discussion. Blake Harrell potential real candidate to be head coach. There's a lot in the comment section about that. We'll give our take on it on the other side. Hoist the colors on a Friday.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan Versa, delivering incredible value without compromising on features. And don't forget the Nissan Rogue, an award winner for 10 years in a row. Drive it home just for $22 down and $349 a month.
Visit GreenvilleNissan.com today.
Greenville Nissan, where we drive to serve.
Shoestring price.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Online to orthoeast.com or by calling us at 252-757-BONE. And remember, our weekend extended care clinic is open from 10 to 2 p.m. for walk-ins. Orthopedics East, official team physicians of ECU Athletics.
And don't forget about the
Eastern North Carolina, Jeff Stein at Brown and Wood. The Brown and Wood service specials include a tire price match guarantee, a $199 AC Delco front brake pad installation special. We also have a brake rotor rebate of $40 and a synthetic oil change on most vehicles.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Surrogacy and reproductive rights. Michael and Russell is proud to be the first law firm in the area to focus on adoption and collaborative law.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, Newbern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
All right, welcome back in. Hoisting the colors here. It's a Reaction Friday. Again, we're doing things a little different today. Philip Pilkington is out, heading to Colorado. Dominic Kasulki is producing. He's back behind the glass with Pancake, a.k.a. Nick Sampson. We've got Scott Rogers in studio. He's returning as the voice of Pirate Baseball, right?
That is not true.
That is not factual info. All right, so we just talked with Mark Yellock, got his take on the game. Let's get back into the comments, guys. A lot of discussion here about Blake Harrell, as you would expect, becoming a legitimate candidate for the job. You know, John Decker Golf Instruction, great name.
I thought that was a candidate for the job for a second.
He says, I hope we can hire Blake Harrell before the season ends. We can't risk losing our quarterback, OC, and recruits. The team is rallied around Blake Harrell. Cameron says if Blake Harrell wins 7 games, you have to give him the job. Too much risk hiring a big candidate for him to fail next season. He adds, I'm telling you, if we go 7-5, don't hire Blake and hire a big-name candidate. He comes in and fails next season. This program is dead forever. I would rather give Blake a shot with a cheap contract. Robert says, like Kyle from LaGrange, don't change the coaching OC with new guys next year when everything is clicking. So, look, a lot of and I don't disagree with any of those comments. I would just say, and I'll let you guys weigh on this too, from my point of view, this is still very much a week-to-week deal. All right, so there's still 3 games left. I don't think Blake Harrell could do any better of a job than he's done through 2 games. I mean, you can't ask for anything more. So that automatically starts to ascend him, if I'm John Gilbert, up my list. But, I mean, if you go out and lose to Tulsa, all that momentum is dead. So you can't name him head coach today. So I still think it's very week to week. But if this trajectory continues, you beat Tulsa, which you're going to be favored at. And then I think it becomes a legitimate conversation if you win at least one of the final 2.
Which is very, very possible.
Yeah, you do that, and then you have to me, he's a legit candidate at that point.
And honestly, I think it's a legit chance to finish the year undefeated with him because
for sure.
We obviously
You're
saw
playing like this.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously saw last week Navy losing to Rice, which nobody expected. Which I know they had that crazy rain delay and stuff in there too, but we've seen Blake Harrell have success against Navy in the past from a defensive perspective. And if our offense is still putting up 49, 50-some points a game, that's going to be hard to stop if you're Navy. Navy, defensively in the past, has had some woes. I mean, off the top of my head, I have no idea how good Navy's defense is this year. But when you're scoring 49, 50 points a game, you're going to be able to make something happen. And so that game certainly is definitely more winnable now. And I know North Texas's defense is not good because they're giving up.
This is going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, and so if you're able to get a couple of stops here and there in that game and you keep putting up these points, you can easily win that. But, yes, it certainly is very attainable to win both of those games. And certainly if you're able to steal one of those in terms of – if you can go on the road and win 2 games in a row with Tulsa and North Texas, I think that opens a lot of eyes too.
Yeah, I mean, I think ECU would probably win both these games with Mike Houston as head coach, but I don't think it would look like this.
No.
Dom, what's your take? Is Blake Harrell becoming a legitimate candidate in your opinion, or is it still too early?
I think it's a little early, but I don't know any other I'm not big on knowing the other candidates, so I couldn't say who exactly I would want. But like you said, if he continues to play, get the team playing the way that they are, if they lose to Tulsa, I think a lot of that goes away because that's a team you should beat. But if you go win the games you're supposed to win, and then, like you guys said, if you sneak a game in, or I think we're going to finish it off undefeated. If we do that, then I would go with Blake Harrell. But, of course, like I said, I don't know much more about other candidates.
I think if you win out, you got to give him the job. I mean, I think you have to. And
you also have to make that decision after that Navy game.
Yeah, you can't wait for a bowl game.
No, because from a recruiting, from the portal, just from everything overall with the program, you've got to have that decision made pretty much within that week after the Navy game.
Yeah, if not the day after. I mean, it's one of those things. So there's several layers to this. All right, let's say you go 4-1, but the offense keeps humming. Caden Hauser keeps looking like the guy. At that point, like why blow it up? Because if you have the quarterback, if you've got the OC, the offense you thought you initially were bringing John David Baker in for, and we know Blake Harrell can coach up a good defense, at that point you might have found the winning formula. I mean, I think if it's 5-0, it's a slam dunk. If it's 4-1, there's a conversation. But for me, if I'm John Gilbert, I'm sitting down with Blake and I'm like, all right, what's your level of trust in JDB going into next year if we bring everybody back? What's your level of confidence that we keep Caden Hauser? And I sit down with Caden. I'm like, how much money do you need to stay at ECU? Right. And try to calculate all that, because if you can guarantee that you have this package deal together, if it works for the next few games like we're seeing now, then that to me is the argument. It's almost more like a package deal. Not that Blake isn't running the show, because he definitely is, but it all comes down to me like, is Hauser back if he keeps playing like this, and is JDB back? And you can give JDB a raise. You could also give Hauser some revenue sharing. I don't know what the exact rules are, but you could pay Blake less than if you go out and hire Garrett Riley or Joe Sloan.
Right, and I think there's 2 factors, too, with that is if you keep everything the same, does Blake Harrell hire a defensive coordinator, or does he continue to call plays? I'm sure there will probably be 1 or 2 staff changes, just like there is with everything. But I think that opens up an opportunity because you don't have to pay a defensive coordinator. You can take some of that salary pool, give it to John David Baker, boost his salary a little bit. Then you've got, like you said, everything's the same in terms of a play calling perspective. That is something that will be interesting to watch. And like I said, I think that, as you said, conversations are going to have to be made in terms of, can you keep John David Baker here? Can you keep Caden Hauser here? as well. And if both of those things are certainly attainable, if you can boost some money somewhere, whether it's, we go to Bagel Man every day and get some more bagels for Caden Hauser, or you do give John David Baker some more money. If you're able to lock those two in for the 2025 season, that's a huge deal for Blake Harrell.
Yeah, there's just it's if you're John Gilbert too, you continue with the coaching search. I mean, you still interview people, and he knows this. We're not informing him, but I'm just kind of trying to give the fans an idea of how it works. He's evaluating Blake Harrell this whole time, but he can still go out and talk to other agents, candidates, whatever. Because I do think, regardless of how it plays out, Scooter, you gotta, like you said, you gotta know what you're gonna do in the days following that Navy game, because the portal, I believe it's December 9th that opens. You got conference championship week, so you're kind of waiting on, and then you have the playoff that could extend. If you're recruiting the Clemson OC, let's say they make another on the outside looking at right now, or the LSU OC, or whoever, Tyson Helton, if he's a candidate for Western Kentucky in the conference championship, then you're having to wait and wait and wait to see that play out. So the timeline of all this is interesting, but I think John Gilbert's got to do his due diligence too, because the last thing you want to do is say, all right, we're good with Blake, ECU then loses the next two, and then you're scrambling.
Right. You've got to have 3 or 4 solid options there. Whether even if Blake Harrell's not in that list, you've got to have a legitimate pool to go from. And whether that's Joe Sloan, Garrett Riley, Tyson Helton, or whoever, you've got to have 3 or 4 solid options that you can go to. If one says no, go to the next one. And that list has got to be, put together by the week of the Navy game. That way you're ready to pounce as soon as that game's over with.
So ECU will be favored at Tulsa. Will probably be a dog at North Texas, regardless of what happens, I would think.
I would think so.
What about Navy at home? Do we think that's a underdog situation?
I think it's underdog, but it's not by I think it's less than 5 points.
Toss up, Dom?
I think it depends on how Navy plays within the next couple games because of how they're kind of skidding right now.
See their schedule here. All right, Navy at USF tomorrow.
Don't punch Alex Golesh.
I don't even know what to expect from USF at this point. Tulane at home.
I feel like they have been a disappointment this year.
USF, they've been. I mean, they were getting talk as a college football playoff.
Yeah. The start of the year, they looked like it.
Yeah.
But here, over the past, 3 or 4 games, they've just looked terrible.
They did lose Byron Brown to injury, their star quarterback. I think he's close to coming back. But, yeah, I mean, those 2 games at USF and then Tulane are going to be tough for them. ECU, as far as winning, we've gotten some questions. Hey, can they still win or make the conference championship game? Mathematically, they have not been eliminated. Trying to pull the standings up, but the American website is very slow. Scott says
Shocker.
Navy is favored by 4.5. All right, so here are the standings. Army 6-0. ECU, I think under no scenario can pass Army due to the tiebreaker. ECU 3-2 in the league. Tulane is 5-0. So ECU would have to jump Tulane, Navy, and Memphis. So in order to do that, ECU would obviously have to win out. Tulane, they play Temple tomorrow. That's a W. They are at Navy, and then they close with Memphis. If Tulane lost at Navy and lost to Memphis, which isn't, I would say, not likely, but possible.
It's possible. I don't see it happening, though.
Yeah. And then Memphis has 2 losses already.
I feel like they've been a disappointment, too, this year. Maybe they were just overhyped at the beginning of the year.
You could have a scenario where there's a 3-way or 4-way tie for second place with Tulane. If they lose to, ECU wins out. And then Navy and Memphis could both factor into that. Of course, ECU, if they beat Navy, would have a tiebreaker there. So if you have that situation play out, I'm not sure what the exact tiebreakers are. But it's possible. But it would come down to Tulane would have to lose twice.
Right.
So,
and that's the team that's playing good football.
They're playing excellent.
And I honestly think that Tulane will beat Navy. I don't see them losing to Memphis, but it certainly is possible. I truly think it's going to be Army and Tulane in that conference championship game.
The good thing is if you're ECU and let's say you beat Tulsa, you will still have – because, making a bowl game is going to be a massive deal. So, you worry about a letdown after that. The good news is going into that North Texas week, you will have something to play for in terms of possibly making the championship. I think you may need Navy to beat Tulane, but at least you'll have something to potentially play for.
And who would have ever thought that East Carolina firing their coach mid-season and there's still a chance to make the conference title game?
Are we getting ahead of ourselves, Dom? What do you think?
He's the betting analyst.
Okay, I don't know about that. I think that I don't know if we're getting ahead of ourselves, to be honest. I think
so you're back in on the Pirates winning the title.
I'm back in. I'm in on the Pirates just because it's so fun watching Caden. This microphone's so low, I have to hold it. But I'm in on Caden Hauser, and I love watching them. I do think if we go and win out, I don't know if we're going to be at the top of the conference, but a nice bowl game would be nice. And then Blake Harrell, and looking into next season, with our schedule, I think we should have made a bowl game either way. So that's kind of the way I look at it. But we look a lot more competent on offense. The defense is starting to pick it up. So it's just a different tide right now, a different feel to the team. So I think the fans should, buy into it right now as well as the players are.
I wrote last night, when this whole thing went down, it was just like, all right, people just want to hear about the coaching search. And now, not that they don't want to hear about it, but, running a site where we're trying to give the subscribers what they want. Like, people are back in on this team. Mm-hmm. And, it's just like that, the 3 weeks, the 2, whatever it's been since October 20th. It is so night and day. And I got to give the team credit, man. They have just done a great job of turning the page.
When the Pirates win, Steven Igo's bank account wins.
That's not factually incorrect. But it's one of those things where, look, it's just a lot more fun to cover winning teams.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know the deal. It's a lot more fun to call winning baseball.
Yeah, 100%. Everybody loves winning. From businesses and towns, when you have more fans at games, from the media's perspective, from just everybody. And you know this, covering those Scotty Montgomery years, covering last season with that 2-10 season. When you're in those post-game press conferences, it's hard because
it's like a funeral.
Yeah, and you're so afraid sometimes too to ask the wrong question and things just go crazy. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, 100%.
But it's just so much easier to do stuff when the team's winning because coaches are in good moods, players are in good moods, and the fan base is happy. And that's the number one priority right there is making sure your fans are happy, which you're not going to please everybody, but if you're at East Carolina and you're winning 7, 8, 9 games a year, that's very successful. And then if you have your 10-win season, come out of there, you could 8, 9 wins a year is very successful at East Carolina, and I think that is certainly attainable. Even in today's world of college football, this program can still succeed at a very high level.
And there's no doubt, and we're seeing the potential of the last few games. So we'll see if the Pirates can keep it rolling. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. It'll be our final break. We'll wrap up the show. I do want to hit on a couple more things in regards to the Blake Harrell conversation. Also, I still don't feel like, some people saying doom and gloom if ECU goes in a different direction with a new head coach. I don't necessarily think that's the case in this era of college football, but I do understand the hesitancy. All right, we will get a break in. We'll come back and wrap the show. This is Hoist the Colors.
Get ready to switch and save at Greenville Toyota. Switch out of that old ride and save a new RAV4, $329 a month. Or test drive the redesigned 2025 Camry, all with our advantage. It's time to switch and save at Greenville Toyota.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Service facility to serve you even better. Medlin Chevrolet has an incredible pre-owned vehicle inventory. Our staff are courteous and service-minded
on the mountain, we've got to say,
value and
get off here.
Monday through Saturday. Find the perfect vehicle for your lifestyle today. Medlin Chevrolet.
Is your pharmacy fumbling when it comes to customer service, prescription fills, compounding, medical equipment, and enteral intravenous therapy? Perhaps it's time for you to allow HealthWise Pharmacy to score in regards to your pharmacy needs. Local
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
Where you can get your order cut the way you want it. The best sausage, bacon, pork chops, and steaks you'll ever taste. The short trip to Acre Station is worth the drive.
At Acre Station, you just get that good, friendly service you just can't find anymore.
I guarantee it's the best sausage and bacon you'll ever eat.
So don't just go to Anytime is a great time for Dunkin' during the holiday season. Dunkin' has all your seasonal favorites, whether it's the signature peppermint latte, the cookie butter donut, or any of your traditional favorites. Dunkin' has the
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
It's time to switch out that old ride and save on a new Toyota. Switch out your current vehicle and get cash on the spot. Then save on a new Corolla for just $229 a month or a Highlander for only $409 a month. Switch and save at Greenville Toyota.
Everything you need to know in the world of ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors final segment here. Scott Rogers in studio recapping ECU's big victory. Dom is producing, Dominic Kasolki. Doing a great job today, Dom. I'm proud of you, man.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be shouted out.
We should have invited the Rizzler.
Who is the Rizzler?
Oh, God. You don't know?
No, I don't know. And I also don't know who this person is that...
Does he?
AJ and Big Justice?
He sends the little picture all the time, the little GIFs in the in our group chat. Do you not know how it... I don't know who he is by now.
I mean, I recognize his face, but nobody's
Of course, everybody recognizes.
Nobody's able to tell me who he is.
He was on Jimmy Fallon or something.
Yeah,
too.
He's just a Rizzler.
That's how popular.
He's just there.
Igo doesn't have a Riz then.
I can't say I watch Jimmy Fallon either. Y'all big.
Well, no, it
just
went viral that he was on a talk show.
All right. Well,
they live in Boca, not the Rizzler, but the people that he's with, the Bring the Boom people. They live in Boca Raton, so they've been to FAU games and stuff like that. So that's why we were making fun of him last
And the
night.
Rizzler's not actually related to that family either.
No, he's not.
Hang out all the time.
He's just a Rizzler.
So there's also something called Chapel Roan.
Chapel Roan.
Chapel Roan. All right. So somebody posted on our game thread last night. Can we please stop playing Chapel Roan?
Hot to Go is the song.
And somebody responded and said, "Don't know him. Is that a team on the basketball schedule?" Which I thought was a great comment. I also don't know who that is, but I did see that a lot of ladies were dancing to the music. So
she is a smaller version of Taylor Swift.
Smaller version of Taylor Swift.
In terms of popularity.
Okay. Well, that's cool, I guess. I'm not a big pop culture guy. I just
boring.
Don't have time.
You're on the grind.
I'm on the grind. I'm
just
running
like
on 3 hours sleep. A nice big win helps to forget about that.
Apparently, people thought I was doing the game on TV last night too.
You do kind of have some Taylor Zarzar sound to you.
Well, I would love to be doing college football on a Thursday night. I would love to have been doing college football at East Carolina too, but that's a different conversation.
Is that why you're back? Are you going to be the next play-by-play guy?
Those conversations have not happened.
I'm so excited for you.
Dom, do you think he deserves to be the full-time voice of every ECU sport?
I think that would be awesome for him. I would hope that he would.
Well,
but
I mean, I love Jim Zoki, but I'm also going to campaign for Scooter as well. So let's get that done.
You never know what the future holds. But I also am in a really good spot right now with my my new job. It has been a great first month and given me some free reign on a lot of things and have made some really good connections already and doing a lot of big things. So I'm excited about it.
Proud of you too, man.
Proud of you, Steven.
Well, thanks for coming back today.
And Dom. I'm proud of Dom. And Pancake.
And I would like to say thanks for filling in today, Joe Sampson.
I would not want to spend my remote lunch break with anybody else.
Dude really just broke out a tooth excuse to not come on the show. Come on, Joe.
Come on, man. He actually was just calling Nicky the Bull.
Oh.
What's funny is he probably broke his tooth on that shoe he ate last year and is still sitting in his desk. That's probably the reason
They were probably cleaning his teeth and shoe started coming out of it.
That probably did happen.
Foreign objects.
Scott Lorbatcher says Memphis lost to Navy, so if it's Navy, ECU, Memphis, tied with Tulane, and we beat Navy, I believe we have the tiebreaker. I tell you what, I would just love that scenario to play out just so we could figure out what would happen.
It's wild still that it's even a possibility for that to happen, which it should be because this team is good enough to compete for a conference title in the American, but that shows that if you pick up that Charlotte win, you're in a much better position to be in the conference title game.
That game is going to haunt me for a long time, along with everybody else.
And that 500-degree press box that was there.
Disgusting day. That was a miserable day.
And you got locked in their stadium.
I did. Everything about that experience, I have no desire to go back to Jerry Richardson Stadium.
That was worse than being at Liberty till like 3 a.m.?
Yes, it was.
Got to be really bad then. My goodness.
So, I don't know. We'll see, man. It's just been look, I'm just glad we're having these conversations because a few weeks ago it was looking bleak. And I'm happy for the team. I'm happy for everybody involved. And it's just it's good to know we've got some exciting days ahead, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Well, Scott, appreciate you, man. We'll get you back on the show again. And
I'll be back in town for Thanksgiving and Christmas, too. So
and you may be going to North Texas, I hear.
I haven't ruled it out yet. We'll see what happens.
Dom, great job.
Thank you, sir.
And Pancake, good luck to your Steelers. Even though I picked against them, I got the Commanders.
And good job sitting in your chair.
Great job keeping the form of that chair in shape. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll be back Monday. Joe may not or may join us, depending on his tooth. We'll see.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Tune in weekdays at noon for all things ECU sports. Get a recap of the show at 943thegame.com, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're back Monday with more of Hoist the Colors on 943 The Game.
For years, Callie Ann Phelps has been singing about Phelps Chevrolet.
Phelps Chevrolet is the one for you. Low, low prices, service too. See the big dealer right away. Carolina's finest, Phelps Chevrolet.
And you'll agree with what Skylar Phelps has to say.
Nobody beats Phelps Chevrolet's prices. Nobody.
The name you can depend on. Phelps Chevrolet.
Get you one.
Need to insure a boat in Edenton, a business in Elizabeth City, a car in Greenville? How about a farm truck in Mount Olive or a home on the Outer Banks? Weatherly Insurance Agency, an independent insurance agency with 6 locations in eastern North Carolina, is here to help. Weatherly Insurance Agency has agents you can get to know because they're your